Hey everyone, welcome back to Not Just a Bikini Girl podcast. I'm super excited today because I have the lovely Alicia Gardner here with me. She has really blown up on Instagram over the past year, and what I'm really interested to talk to her about is how she manages to juggle being a master's law student, being a UK BFF bikini competitor, and launching her online business with her boyfriend James. So I'm really excited to have this lady on with us. She's sponsored by BPI Sports, and she's worked with some fantastic brands. Off the top of my head, I can think of Gymshark, Sports FX Cosmetics, and many more. But welcome to the podcast, Alicia.
Hello, I'm so excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, and we'll just get
Right?
straight into it. So, I think what a lot of people want to know about primarily is kind of how you started your bodybuilding journey. So if you can just
Yeah.
talk us through that.
Yeah, of course. So I've always been pretty like sporty at school, was always into like netball and athletics. Funnily enough, even though I'm not really a big fan of cardio anymore, I used to be a 200-meter sprinter, and I used to do high jump and, like all that kind of thing at school. And then when I did my A levels, found that quite challenging. That kind of took over my life. And, I kind of like left my like after school clubs, like, by the wayside a bit. And yeah, and then I just like kind of just took up the gym to as instead of netball and everything. Then went to uni, carried on with the gym, really liked it, and that kind of was pretty much all the sport I did for the last year of sixth form and the first year of uni. But to be honest, there was like something missing. Like I'd always played competitive sport, and I wouldn't say like I'm a really competitive person, but for me personally, I like to have like a goal. Like I like,
Mm.
working towards something. So, like working towards a netball match and like doing that, winning or whatever and
Mm.
having that experience. So obviously I was gymming, training hard, had, my normal like goals, like I want to get this on squat, deadlift, whatever.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, and then I was like, oh, well, I think I just, saw competing over Instagram about 3 and a bit years ago now, which I feel like it was back when it wasn't
As
as
big as it is
popular
now.
as I
Yeah.
would say now. I mean, obviously I don't really know because obviously back then, you weren't in the industry, so I couldn't really say for sure. But
Mm.
I don't think it was popular as it is now, especially over social media. And yeah, I was like, oh, that looks good. I'm quite a girly girl. Bikinis obviously appealed to me and like all the sparkles and stuff. And I was like, oh no, like So yeah, and then I actually started going out with James about 3 years ago. So this is around a similar time,
Yeah.
and he had done one show before, and I think it was about a couple of months into our relationship, he was actually doing his first ever British finals. So obviously, went along. And I literally was like, 100%, I need to do this. Like, I'd always thought about doing it. But, when you go to a show, if you've ever seen a show and you've always toyed with the idea of competing, you're like, it will sell you. Like, you'll be completely sold.
Yeah.
Um, so, yeah. So saw that and I was like, right, want to do a show. I prepped myself for my first show with the help of my boyfriend. And yeah, we smashed my first show. I came top five, which was like so exciting for me. Like I just wanted to get up on that stage, and like just not fall flat on my face. So that went well. Yeah, and then the rest is history really. And then I've done my second season this year and competed at the Grand Prix, which obviously allowed me to qualify for 4 different international shows, including the Arnold. So yeah, so that's
Amazing.
to competing. Yeah.
So do you feel like James kind of was quite a big influence on your bodybuilding journey so far? Because it's similar to my boyfriend. I was kind of dabbling in the gym, and they do say, you should surround yourself with the five best people that are really going to push you. And
Yeah, yeah.
do you feel like that's the same with James and
Oh,
yourself?
100%. Like, to be honest, if it wasn't for, even though I've always toyed with the idea of competing, if it wasn't for James, I don't think I would have got that like extra push to just like
Mm.
do it because, like none of my uni or like home friends from back in Bath, are into that at all. So it was just me. But obviously when I met James, he was like, go for it. Like we made like, it was someone telling me to like, just do it rather than like the others going like, oh yeah, like that sounds cool, like, but if they're not into it, they don't really know.
Yeah.
So definitely, like, James is such a huge influence on me competing, and to be honest, like I couldn't do it without him. Like we used to like coach ourselves like together, and he used to
Mm.
coach me. Now we have a coach, just so it takes the pressure off us. So we like basically have to think less about our own preps, and we can concentrate on our clients.
Definitely.
But yeah, no, James is such a huge influence to me. Like I honestly, he's the hardest working person like I know, and he is brutal when it comes to his preps. He's like completely like all or nothing. He's like, yeah, he's just got the mindset down to a T. So I put my hands up to him. He's such a big influence, and like I really do admire him. So yeah.
Amazing. So what do you feel like in terms of mindset, like that is something I could talk about for ages. So what do you feel like you've
Yeah.
learned from James, particularly in terms of mindset, that you feel that could potentially help a lot of, well, yourself and a lot of bikini competitors in the industry?
So to be honest, I feel like this whole mindset thing, especially with competing, it can work both ways. And I have both kind of experiences with it. So let's just say what like, the bikini competing has done for me in terms of like having a positive mindset, because it's obviously at times been the other way. But obviously luckily for me, I've always been, pretty confident. I've never really been shy. Like I've always just been confident, chatty person, and always been never really, because I think I've always been sporty. I've never I've never been like insecure about anything in particular. I've always just been like, I never really thought about it, never really thought about my body, never, um, I am pretty tall, like I'm 5'10". So sometimes I used to be like a bit annoyed when going out with your friends, and like I'm always one to wear heels, but when you're looking in the club photos and you're like, why am I so tall?
Yeah, you look like a landmark, don't you? I'm the same.
Yeah, so like, but that's never really like, that's the only thing that ever really bothered me about my body. But now, like, I absolutely love being tall, so I do not care about that anymore. But competing, when I did my first prep, honestly, I did not realize how mentally strong I was until I did my first prep. And it's hard to explain unless you experience it yourself. But you literally, it's not even the training that's hard. Well, personally, this is what I found. I didn't feel like the training was hard because, I loved going to the gym anyway. It was, the dieting, the food, and, the self-control that came with, when your friends were eating Dominoes after nights out, do you know what I mean? Because obviously I was at uni. And it did give me a really, really strong mindset. And it did get to the point where I was like, I switched up and I was like, you know what? I don't want that pizza. That pizza is not even bothering me anymore because I really want to get on that stage. Yeah. So you get to the point where your own goals, like you realize they come way above any of this like miscellaneous stuff. So it made me realize how strong of a person I was, and how independent in a way I like felt, because I was really putting like my goals first, and not like giving in to like I don't know like food, or I still went out loads, so I didn't feel like I sacrificed my social life. But yeah, it did make me have a really strong mindset. But then, like I said, it can go the other way. So I feel like if anyone it does think about is wanting to compete, you've got to really do it for yourself, and just be aware that it can bring up like a bad relationship with food, or bring up like insecurities like later down the line, which that's just my experience. Like I'm not saying that happens to everyone, because I know it doesn't, but yeah.
Amazing. No, I think it's really, really important that you have that kind of awareness before you go into a prep, that
definitely
things might change and you might struggle with certain foods at first, but I do agree with you, once you have that goal in mind, everything kind of becomes a bit more tunnel vision. And that pizza really doesn't look that great, and in your head that you'll have it again. Do you know what I mean? You'll definitely have it again.
And it's like, it can wait, like food can wait, like what's the rush? Yeah, your brownie's always going to be there, and let's be honest, Domino's is not going bust anytime soon.
Yeah, definitely agree with that one. And Krispy Kremes, I don't think they're ever going to go out of business either. So I think we're good. We're all
Oh,
good.
Biscoff is my favourite, and it hurts my soul because they've like just changed it recently to like Biscoff and raspberry and white chocolate, and it sounds nice, but it's actually rubbish.
Oh, is it?
Compared to the normal one, it's rubbish.
So one thing that I found very interesting, I think a lot of other followers might find interesting as well, is obviously you came from the Grand Prix, absolutely fantastic, nailed it, 3 international invites, things look good. You went to Canada from what I saw, and then you went a bit quiet, and you know, after some consideration, you then kind of put a post up to say that you were not doing the Arnold. So I think a lot of people might want to kind of see the reasonings behind that. You know, because I said before we started recording, I really do commend you for taking putting yourself first as priority. And you know, Arnold is a massive competition, and I think it'd be interesting to see kind of your thought process behind that, and kind of what happened.
Okay, so there's kind of like 2 main reasons why this year I didn't compete at the Arnold. So the more like personal reason is the fact, like, so I obviously did the Grand Prix. I loved every minute of that competition. I competed in juniors, which I did in my first season as well, but I also competed in my height category, which I've never done before. And that was great too. And now next season I won't be a junior anymore, so it's just height category for me next year, which is exciting. So the main reason why I didn't think it was a good idea for me to do the Arnold this year is basically the Grand Prix wasn't actually my first planned show of the season. My first planned show of the season was the South Coast show, which I actually did back in 2016. So I had actually been dieting since January. Sorry, got a cold. Since dieting since January. So my prep was actually extended a little bit. Not for any like reason. I just felt like I wasn't ready to do the South Coast show, and there was absolutely no problem with that. So I just pushed it back like a couple of weeks, and so did the Grand Prix. So that meant that I'd actually been dieting for a very long time up till the Grand Prix, which was fine, like whatever, did well at the Grand Prix, and then that was that. So because the Arnold was it's September. It was September. It was about 2 weeks ago. So because the Arnold's is in September, I could afford to have about a month off, just like chilling, enjoying, kind of eating relatively like what I want. So that's what I did. But the thing is, it wasn't like I had like a month off to just chill. I actually had my final exams for my law conversion, which I did this year. So I had my final exams. So it was a very stressful time, I literally was just like revising from like 6 a.m. to like 12 at night. Like it was ridiculous. And instead of like eating what I wanted and like proper wholesome meals, like all the good stuff, I just either didn't eat because I was just so zoned into my books, or I ate and I was just like snacking on cereal or oats because it was just quick to make. Obviously my exams came first, so I was only getting to the gym about 4 times a week, which is absolutely fine. But when you've got an international show coming up, that's not actually that good. So anyway, the exams were over. I had a week until I had to start prepping again for the Arnold's, and I was like, no, I'm going to do it. I did actually start my prep for the Arnold's. Anyway, so started the prep for the Arnold's. I was obviously my exams are over, but I was still very stressed. And stress is actually really bad when you're doing a bikini competition, because it really, really affects your body. And I don't think people really understand this unless you're doing like a sport like this. But your body my body particularly just doesn't change, doesn't budge, and it really like holds all the water. Just it doesn't want to prep basically when I'm really stressed. So I just started prep, and I was like, I was doing it. Didn't really feel that into it because I just felt like I didn't have any time off in between, because I had these exams, but that was the most stressful period of my life. So I didn't, it wasn't like, I just chilled for a month. My heart was like in it, because obviously that was my major goal for this year, to compete for the internationally. And the Arnold is amazing, but my head was like, what am I doing? Like, I just wasn't like dropping weight. I wasn't, it kept, 1 month went by and nothing had changed. And I just, the more you don't see any changes, the more stress you get, and it just goes in a circle. And my boyfriend was like, sat me down, was like, look, Alicia, like, you don't have to do, because I feel like he felt that, that I put a lot of pressure on myself to do it, because, I've worked my butt off to do well at Grand Prix, and it was my goal for this year. And like, I told everyone, social media wise, that I'd qualified for the international shows. And I feel like, yeah, I did put quite a lot of pressure on myself to, see that through and do well. And, I didn't really want to let anyone down. And I know people weren't necessarily like disappointed that when I came to say that I wasn't doing it, but how you feel like you just don't want to let people down. Yeah. And so my boyfriend sat me down and was like, look, Liz, you don't have to do this. Like, if you don't want to, like, I don't feel, and he was like really honest with me. He's like, I don't feel like this is going to benefit you, like, physique wise. So yeah, I spoke to my coach, and he was like, he like agreed. So we decided that it wasn't best for me to do it. Just the mindset that I was in, the way my body wasn't responding, it was very clear that like it was trying to tell me something, that it's been through a bit too much, So that was the whole reason as to why I didn't, in terms of like, health and like my body. But also we had kind of decided that going to the Arnolds this year, if I had gone, would probably be more of like just a good experience rather than going to place, because the international shows have a very different, well, they like a certain look, which is slightly different to the UK for bikini athletes, and they like them to be quite tiny. And whilst when I do compete, like, I'm quite tiny on top, I am quite quad dominant. So it would have been hard for me to get my legs down to, the standard of international shows before the Arnolds this year. So basically now what I'm working on this off season is really like building my upper body up and my shoulders and shrinking my quads. So next season, I'm going to try and qualify for the Arnolds again. And hopefully when I do that, my quads will be smaller, and my upper body will be bigger, and I'll be a bit more in proportion. So that's also like another reason. I may as well just do it again next season, but just do it to like, place rather than just an experience.
Yeah, I definitely commend you for that, because I from what I've seen from a few Instagram accounts, obviously I won't name, but you can see that it's good that you had that mindset of being very objective. But not as in terms of, oh, I hate my body or it's not good enough. Just saying, no, it just isn't my time. A lot of stuff's going on. And, being a bit more rational and objective about it, and not going with the sweep of what everyone else is doing, but just listening to yourself and knowing when's the right time and when isn't the right time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And to be honest, you've really got to think like from like an athlete perspective when you're deciding about these shows, like, because when you qualify for them, it's like, oh, so exciting, and you just want to do it all. Like, you want to have as much stage time as you can, because you've worked so hard for it. But from an athlete's perspective, like, you've got to really work out like how many peak weeks you can put your body through, how long you can actually afford to diet for before you just, because if you over diet, it's not going to work. So yeah, so that's what I did really.
So how did you feel when all the Arnold kind of posts were going up and bits like that? Did you have any kind of, I wouldn't say regrets, but how did you feel seeing those kind of posts come up knowing that you weren't there?
So obviously I have met some of my closest friends through competing. So obviously, I was like in touch with them when they were like flying out, and seeing all their pictures and speaking to them about everything. And honestly, I saw the photos on Instagram because obviously it was everywhere. And I didn't even really feel sad that I wasn't there, which was a really good feeling for me, because it meant that I knew I'd made the right decision. like, don't get me wrong, I obviously was like, oh, it would have been so nice to be there because with my friends, you know, because we were making it like a girls' holiday basically. Um, so obviously that was a bit like, oh, shame, like it because it would have been nice to still go, but obviously I didn't get the opportunity to do that. But yeah, no, I didn't really feel like, oh no, I should have been there, I should have done it, but at all, which is actually really good because I definitely made the right decision for me. But no, I'm so proud of all the girls that went out there. Like everyone looked amazing, all did so well. Some of them got like top 10 call outs, which is insane. Like my friend Phoebe, um, just another fitness blogger on Instagram. Like honestly, she's smashing the competing scene at the moment. I put my hands up to her because she is so hardworking. So no, I'm just so proud of all the girls that went out there, to be honest. And yeah, no, looking back now, it was definitely the right decision for me. So I am glad that I didn't go. So yeah.
Good. From what I saw, the stage looked rammed though.
Oh yeah, I know.
I
I
really
know
felt
there
for the
was.
girls because I just thought, God, if you put all that working and you're crammed up next to like everyone else.
Yeah, it is
Um,
hard because you obviously all the girls are stunning. They've all got insane physiques, and you know you've really got to like make that impact in the first few seconds that you're on stage, because then the judge that's when the judges are going to pick the ones that they're going to watch. Um, so yeah, I mean, gosh, I don't. I would have been so nervous if I was up there. I mean, it is obviously you want to, you know, you want to win, you want to do the best you can do, but at the same time, especially when you're up there with like your friends and stuff, you want the best for them as well. And it's just like, oh God. Right. Oh God, I get a bit nervy when I'm speaking about it.
no, I had no idea that they look for a different type of physique as well in terms of being a smaller, kind of tighter look.
Yeah, so I mean, it does depend really. Like I feel like it does change with every, you know, every competition. Like sometimes it's even with like national shows, like sometimes, you know, they'll like a girl that's got like quite visible abs or, you know, is a little bit more muscly than like having like a teeny tiny waist. Or sometimes they'll go for the girls that have got really small waists. And it just really depends, like honestly, it all comes down to what the judges want on the day, to be honest. And I think there's a lot of, you know, luck involved. Like it just depends whether your physique is what they want that day.
Yeah, they just wake up one morning and go, "Oh, I fancy someone with a smaller waist
Fancy
today."
abs today, yeah. Or I fancy a tiny waist today. Um, so yeah, that is a bit annoying. But you know what? It gives everyone's physique is so different, and when it comes to like having a small waist and having really prominent abs, that is like a genetic thing.
Mm.
Um, so you know, like whether you've got one or the other, like you just got to roll with that
And work it.
and just work it. Yeah, exactly. So yeah.
So in terms of, I saw I forgot the name, Zoe. I don't know her full Instagram.
Oh, Zoe Lane Fisk.
Yes, can't say her name for anything. So she, because like she qualified and she did the Arnolds, but then she competed, I think, about 2 weeks ago. So if you did that Grand Prix, did you have to re-qualify for the finals?
So Zoe didn't do the Grand Prix. She did South Coast and FitCon at the beginning of the year in April. She won. I went to go see her, and she won. Obviously, her category. She looked insane.
Yeah.
And but FitCon was not a qualifier for the British. So she'd obviously qualified for her international shows, but she did Bedford last week or the week before. So she could qualify for the British, so she could compete at the British this weekend.
Okay, because that's what
That's why she did another qualifier, basically. Yeah.
right. See, because I'm more like the PCA kind of scene. I love
Yeah.
UK
Yeah.
BFF as well, but I was really confused. I thought, oh, hang on, I swear I've just seen you on the Arnold stage smashing it, and then
Yeah.
having to qualify again. I had no idea FitCon wasn't a qualifier, which is really strange.
Yeah, so it was a qualifier for international shows. So normally the shows that qualify you for the international shows don't always qualify you for the British finals as well. So what a lot of athletes do is they'll do like another one nearer the time towards the time where the finals is, which is obviously what Zoe did, and or just do another one like straight after. So yeah, because there was a lot of speculation as to whether the Grand Prix was actually a qualifier for the British.
Mm.
Um, they told us all that yes, like it was, and then there's something went out on Facebook like, oh no, it's not. And to be honest, I'm not even sure if anyone knows if it is or not anymore. So yeah, because on our certificates it was listed all the international shows that we qualified for, but it didn't mention the British at all, and we just got told that it was a qualifier for a British.
Okay.
I'm not too sure because obviously I'm not doing it now whether it was or not, but I think a lot of athletes have just quickly done another like British qualifying show in the UK just to properly make
just
sure,
100% know that they're going through. Makes sense.
Imagine if you turn up like already on the day, like, oh no, you haven't actually qualified. You're like, great. So yeah, no, that's she did that. So, but yeah, I'm going to the British this weekend because James is obviously competing, and yeah, all the girls as well. So I can't wait. It's going to be so fun to watch everyone. I think that's when I'll be like, oh, I want to be on that stage because I'm there watching it, whereas the others, I wasn't there watching it. But no, I know for me, obviously, my decision this season was completely correct, and I'm really working my butt off, literally. Well, my quads off, literally, this off season. So hopefully next year I'm going to look so different. I really hope so. Anyway. Yeah.
I'm more than confident. Like, you've got the genetics anyway, so no, I'm looking forward to seeing what you bring next year for sure. So in terms of, let's quickly talk about off season then. So what is obviously it requires different demands in terms of your mindset and the discipline and potentially different routines and bits like that. So how are you, well, first off, how is off season going? And are you doing anything differently to your off season now that you didn't do last year?
Yeah, so what was it? Was it 26? What year? 2017. So 2015 was my first, like, no wait, I'm so bad at working out the years.
All the years go into one these days.
Oh my God, they literally do. I don't even know what day it is. So my first season was 2016. So obviously did the South Coast show at the beginning of the year, and then I had quite a long off season from about summer until December, until I started preparing January this year. But my first off season, it wasn't a structured off season at all. Like, it wasn't, you would call it an off season because I wasn't competing or prepping for anything, but that was the only reason why I would call it an off season. I just went back to like how I always was. Like, I've been brought up to eat really healthy, and so I just went back to eating, normally what I would eat really. And still trained a lot, but I'd never really like made myself lift extremely heavy. Like, obviously I lifted a lot heavier because I was eating more and I had more energy, but it wasn't structured in a sense. So when I did start to prep again for this year's shows, it was a bit of I don't even know if I'm even going to have put on any muscle because I didn't do it. I just went back to being normal. I didn't do like a proper off season. But anyway, I did compare my show photos from 2016 to the Grand Prix this year. And oh my goodness, I changed so much.
Where do you think you changed?
So much. My back, my glutes, pretty much everywhere I managed to change. I feel like I look back on my 2016 photos now and I think, like, don't get me wrong, like, I was so proud of those photos, like, after I did my first bikini competition. But looking back now and like knowing the sport as well as I do now, and how to build your body, I look back and now at my first photos, I'm like, it doesn't even look like I lived. Like, I just look like some kind of like quite skinny girl with like some glutes, and that's about it. But no, so when I look back at my Grand Prix photos, I actually was really pleased because I was like, it actually looked like I lift now, so that's always a good sign, isn't it? So yeah, and I really did work on my hamstrings because I do hold like most of my body weight like in my lower half, which has its pros and cons, but yeah. So I obviously did like really hammer my glutes and hamstrings. So that did pay off, and my back grows quite quick. Like, I can build muscle there quite easily. Whereas my hamstrings, like, well, I could have a hamstring curl in my bedroom and do it every second of the day, and they probably wouldn't grow that much. So, so yeah, so this time, seeing that I managed to put on a fair amount of muscle last season without actually having a structured off season, this off season, I'm like going full force into like really trying to like lift heavy and writing down all of my lifts, which I would 100% recommend for someone who's like, trying to gain muscle. Writing down your lifts, writing down how many sets and reps you do, and then just trying to improve on that every week, even if it's just by another rep, like, or bumping up by like another kilo. It's just something, isn't it? And yeah, and to be honest, like I said, I eat pretty well anyway. So I'm not tracking or anything at all. I used to love my Fitness Pal. Now I really don't like it. It just drives me insane. So I'm just, eating like good food, eating like a fair amount, making sure I have like enough carbs, fats, etc. around my workouts, making sure I hit my protein, but kind of just all doing it in my head because, after you've competed for so long, you can kind of like think, oh yeah, that's about 50 grams of oats. Like, oh yeah, that's about 30 grams of salmon. So yeah, that's what I'm doing really in my off season. To be honest, I'm loving it. Like, I've really got my like food balance and all that stuff like back on track. I'm lifting heavy. I'm really enjoying training, like what I want, when I want, and yeah, really. I mean, the only thing is, because I'm obviously trying to shrink my quads, which is a really major thing that I really need to do before next season. Like, I'm not allowed to squat or do normal deadlifts or do leg press, which is actually breaks my heart a little bit.
I miss it. I miss leg press. I'm the same. My coach took it away from me. I was like, no, don't do it.
I know, but like, especially when you're in your off season, when you're just like, yes, I want to go to the gym, lift something heavy. What are you going to do? Squats. It's like, no, I can't do that. But no. So yeah, no, I'm loving my off season at the moment. Obviously at the moment in terms of like the social aspects of like having like free reign of like when you want to go out and eat and everything. I'm just kind of like holding off until after James's show this weekend, really, because obviously he's been prepping. But I think we've got quite a few restaurants that we want to go to and check out after he's finished competing as well. Because
you've got your hit list.
Yeah, 100%. We have like a hit book. But yeah, when James does off season, he does off season, which is very different to how I do off season. He lives the burger life. I just live the normal life. But yeah,
I love that.
Yeah,
and definitely Nottingham. You're going to have an array of places to go and eat. My God, you're going to have so much fun.
Oh yeah, you might know this because obviously you went to Nottingham Uni, but we're very excited to go to Nottingham Donuts, I think it's called.
Yes, it actually set up just as I left. Typical, but
no,
that place is amazing.
Yeah.
Annie's Burger Shack is another good one.
Yeah.
Obviously, James, you had to book in there though, or you'd be waiting hours.
Yeah, I know. I keep telling James to do this, but you know what men are like in organisations, so
I know.
I might as well do it myself.
Okay, so let's move on from that. We've got another aspect that someone kind of questioned you on from what you said to me was the balancing act. I'll probably call it that, the balancing act.
Yeah.
So you have you're spinning a lot of plates. You've got, it's crazy. It's amazing though. So you've got, you're doing your masters in law. You've really grown your Instagram account quite considerably, working with some really cool brands.
Yeah.
Your business with James, his and hers training is doing really well.
Yeah.
On top of that, you'd like to have a normal social life and, just do the normal things like spend time with family, so on and so forth. Yeah. That's a lot of things to kind of consider on top of competing. So how do you do it basically?
Well, to be honest, I actually think I'm the type of person that likes to be busy. So I guess that always helps. Well, oh God, where do I start? So obviously I'm in my 5th year of, I don't really ever know what to call like my law thing. Because obviously I did a history degree for 3 years. I did a law conversion last year, which was called the GDL. And this year I'm doing my LPC, which is legal practice course, which is what everyone has to do before they can get a training contract with a firm. So basically, I'm doing my LPC, so I've got a few months left, and then I have to commit to adult life, and yeah, so after that, so I that takes up a lot of my time. Like, I want to say the majority of my time. Well, it should take up the majority of my time, but I feel like I don't commit as much time as I probably should to it. But I commit enough for it to work for me, you know. So I luckily my uni lets me go in 2 days a week instead of four. So I do all my lectures and workshops back to back on those 2 days, and I just cram it in, which works really well for me because I'm very self motivated, so I can just do all my work at home and it doesn't bother me. Like, I don't have to sit myself in uni to make sure that I do it. I can do it from home. That's fine. So that obviously takes up a lot of time, a lot of reading. But to be honest, I carry my books and all that kind of stuff with me everywhere. So if I've got like a spare moment and I'm on a train, I'll get my reading out. If I come home to my family home for the weekend, like, I'll bring all my books. Like, any moment I have, I'll just like keep chipping away at it, and that's what really works for me. And I get so much done that way as well. So that's uni. So what else? So obviously James and I have our online coaching business called His and Hers Training, which it's like our little baby. Like, we love it so much. Like, it's such a massive passion of ours. To help people, coach people. James has been doing that, like, coaching a lot longer than I have, but we decided to put our efforts together, which works really well because then our clients get two kind of people to talk to. They get James and I can like work through our ideas like really well as well. So you kind of get like two coaches for the price of one, if you know what I mean. So we love doing that. We just had one of our clients, Sammy, who competed in PCA it was 2 weeks ago now, her first ever show, and she came second, which we were so dead chuffed about. Oh God, so proud. Like, I get so invested in my clients. Like, when I see them on stage, like, I actually do tear up. I don't even know why. Like, I'm not even that of an emotional person. And I was just like, what's wrong with me?
You're releasing them into the wild, isn't it? In some respects,
I'm like, oh my God, you're like my little baby. Like, because we are very, like we're friends with our clients. Like, so eventually, like, when you've been working with them, because we work with our clients, we don't really just work with our clients for like, 12 weeks for their prep. Like, you work with them before and, build up their muscle, their offices and all that. So when they do finally step on stage, like, you feel really invested in their journey. Yeah. So obviously that's great. We love doing that. We normally work through all of our clients and everything in the evening when we're both around, and we get all of our work done together that way. So James and I do that together. So that's quite good. But we do live together, so it's not that hard to find time where we're both free to do that. Yeah. So normally at some point during the day, every day, we sit down and just make sure we're like updating, checking in what they're doing. We have group chats with all of our clients, and WhatsApp groups and everything where everyone talks on anyway, and it's like, it's just really nice, like a nice little big family, really. I love it. So for me, that is so rewarding. Like, I just love it. I just love it so much. I just get so much happiness from it, from doing that. So yeah, that's really great. I'm so glad that James and I teamed up to do that, because we've never really looked back on that, to be honest. So then what else? So Instagram. Yeah, my Instagram has decided to blow up
somewhat.
Yeah, and to be honest, like, I know this is probably the most frustrating thing to say, because obviously people can always want to know, like, how do you do it? How do you grow your Instagram? But like, I'm just like, I'm just doing me. Like, what's different about mine Instagram compared to like a lot of others is my Instagram that everyone follows me on is actually my personal Instagram. I never set up like an Alicia Gardner fitness or whatever Instagram to be like, oh, I want to set up a fitness Instagram. I ended up just falling into this, like, because, the gym and I was always sporty. That's obviously what I used to always put on my Instagram anyway from a young age. And, from there, people like that. And then, like, obviously, people that you don't know, like, start following you and stuff. And yeah, like my personal Instagram basically just became what it is now. And that's just, yeah, it's kind of strange to think because I never really set out for it to be what it is. And it is, and it's great. Like, I absolutely love to pieces, like, everyone who follows me and, like, chats to me. And, like, I've made so many friends through Instagram and competing. And, like, oh, I just love it. Like, I couldn't imagine, it sounds really strange, but I couldn't imagine, like, my life without it now.
Yeah.
Because, honestly, like, the support that my followers give me when I'm prepping, and the support, and I give them back in terms of what they're doing, whether it's competing or on their own fitness journey or just in general life. Like, I love it. And you know what, like, it really does, like, kind of restore your faith in, like,
humanity.
Yeah, like, obviously, you all get the trolls, but when you have all those positive people saying lovely things and you're all supporting each other, and, like, yeah, it just doesn't even matter about the trolls anymore, like, whatever. So juggling all that it's not as bad as it sounds. And then obviously when I prep, because I always like going to the gym anyway, it's just the only thing when I prep that's different, because I always find time to go to the gym, is just the food. And to be honest, the food takes up less time because you prep it all in advance anyway, and then you just grab it out the fridge when you want it, really.
Yeah.
And yeah, sorry.
Oh no, sorry. I was going to say, in terms of your Instagram, is quite a lot of people find that quite hard to kind of keep the momentum and keep posting. So what do you do just to kind of keep that momentum going in terms of content? Obviously, you've got to try and make it different and interesting and obviously relatable. So how do you go about doing that?
Well, to be honest, obviously it helps having someone who can take your photos. So thanks, James. You're a bigger help on that.
Shout out to James.
Yeah, no, we obviously, it does help, living with your boyfriend who is also doing the whole Instagram thing, and you take each other's photos. So that does help a lot. But to be honest, like, I don't purposely try and think of, like, content, or I'm like, oh, I have to get content today or have to do this, like, unless there's, like, something that I particularly want to talk about, or unless you're wanting to, like, a transformation post, obviously, unless it's something particular. But on an everyday basis, like, James and I will just be doing our thing, or I'll be going to uni or the gym, and I'll just snap a photo, pop it up, and just talk about, like, my day, or just talk about something I've been thinking about that day, or how topics kind of, like, go round on Instagram, or I'll talk about, like, a topic, something that I've just been thinking about that day. And, like, I'm always, like, sat thinking about stuff. I don't even really know why. So I just write what's in my head, really. I don't try too hard to, like, get the photos, but I do like to invest a lot of time in my captions, because if I'm thinking about something, like, I really want to, like, talk about it properly and, like, see what others think, and relate to others in a certain way, because I know other people will probably be thinking about the same thing. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, that's kind of, like, how I do it. But I think that helps a lot, because then I just stay relatable, because I'm not trying to get, like, a picture. I just how you just get one from your day, because it's just your day.
Yeah.
So I think that helps a lot, because then I think if you can relate to someone, especially over Instagram, you're more inclined to, like, follow and invest in them and talk to them and stuff like that. And I just feel like if I just snap photos of me just doing my thing, that's probably what everyone else is doing as well. So yeah.
Sounds good. Okay, so in terms of competing and social life, you briefly touched on that earlier on in the... Having a social life and competing are two very, very, very challenging things. One, because of a time management perspective, I feel. The second, because energy levels start to kind of dwindle quite a bit.
Mm.
And the third one is, some people aren't very understanding and they can
Yeah,
make
of
social
course.
situations very difficult. I know personally, when I was in my third year, like, it sounds mad, and it's probably for a good reason, but a lot of the people that I thought were my friends, as soon as I started my fitness journey, I noticed that I wasn't invited out as much to, restaurants and going out. Even though I still loved doing that, I
Yeah,
just reduced my drinking. And I actually confronted a friend once and said, "Look, like, you guys are going out. Why? Like, what's the deal?" They're like, "Oh, well, you do this fitness thing anymore. You do this fitness thing now, so we kind of assume that you don't want to, you
yeah,
won't
I
be
don't
interested."
understand.
And it's like, why don't you ask? But yeah, that's kind of experience that I felt.
Yeah.
But what's kind of been the deal with you with balancing
So,
that?
in terms of like, going out whilst on prep, I'm not really the type of person that needs to have like a drink or ever to be able to like, get up and dance or like have a good time. So that does help because I'm not shy or anything. So it doesn't really matter to me whether got had a drink or not really. And also before I used to go to uni, like I never really drank at all. I used to work in some of the clubs back in Bath where my family live, and I used to like not drink. I used to like drive myself there and stuff like that. Which I know that sounds really weird, but that's just what I did. Don't know why. You save a lot of money doing it that way as well. But yeah, so when it came to prep, not going out and not drinking didn't really bother me at all. Um, so going out clubbing and stuff was totally fine. Um, when it comes to going out for like dinner, that obviously is when it gets a little tricky because it really depends. For me, it depended at what stage of my prep I was on. At the beginning of my prep, I could afford to, go out for dinner. I could, kind of structure it around like a refeed meal, so I could, maybe have kind of what I wanted for dinner. And then when it got a bit closer, I'd probably have to rein it in and just, ask the restaurant, or can I just have like a grilled chicken and, some veg, or like maybe a steak if I was allowed. Um, so that is always a good thing to do if you're on prep. Just look ahead at the menu, or ring up and ask them if they'd be able to do this kind of thing for you. Because more often than not, restaurants are very accommodating. So then that way you can still go out to eat, enjoy the social time with your friends, but you're still staying on track. But obviously, when it gets closer to the time, you doing that kind of thing, going out and eating. Obviously, it's not. You don't know exactly how it's cooked. There's obviously extra oils. There's so extra sodium. Like you can't weigh it. I know that sounds silly, but yeah, obviously that's really important when you're on prep. So when it gets close to the time, it does get a little bit tricky. But to be honest, nothing stopped me from going and bringing my Tupperware. And to be honest, I didn't really mind doing that towards the end at all, because it gets so close to the time that you're just so motivated to just smash it anyway. But yeah, that was fine. In terms of like friends being understanding, I have a very close group of friends from back at home in Bath who I went to school with. There's about, how many of us? About 6 or 7 of us, and we're all very close. We talk all the time. We see each other whenever we can, but some of us, aren't even in the country anymore. But we're still really close, and they they aren't into the whole competing thing, but they understand that's like what I want to do, and they support me. And if I'm going to get my Tupperware out at the table, then that's fine. Um, like they're not bothered by that at all. They're just, like we're all just glad that we're together, and like I'm turning up. Um, so that's like my home friends, and then obviously my London friends are actually all kind of like in the fitness industry anyway. Like the people that I've met, yeah, or all people who I go to the gym with, or yeah. So they just totally get it. So that's fine, and some of them do it themselves. So I have been lucky in that sense. But then don't get me wrong, there have been people who, kind of drift away. and they just, they don't understand, and that's totally fine. Like, I would never make someone try and, understand my sport if that's not really what they're into. But I don't think, like, as a person, like, I don't think it's hard to just, especially if like they're your friend and they're your best friend and they really want the best for you, it's not hard to like try and understand what your best friend like into. Like, I have one extremely close friend from uni, and like, we're inseparable, and she is completely not in the fitness industry at all. Like, she's absolutely gorgeous. She's one of those people that doesn't even need to work out, and she's just like amazing. And yeah, we lead very different lives in that sense, but she is my biggest support. Like, she came to the Grand Prix. It's such a long day. She stayed all day. She helped me with my bikini, like everything. Like, she's like my biggest cheerleader, apart from James, obviously. And yeah, so I feel like I don't want to say it, but from my experience, this is what I felt like. If your friends are really your true friends and they really want the best for you, then whatever you are doing, whatever hobby you're doing, whatever job you're doing in your life, and they think that it's good for you and they know that you enjoy it, they're gonna want to support you 100%. And that's how I am with my friends. And that's how my friends are back to me. But then, having said that, I can probably count my friends on my hands rather than having loads and loads of them. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah. Has there been any situation that you've kind of had to overcome? So, for example, maybe at university, you've had some kind of weird feedback at all? Negativity? I don't know, that's because I live in quite a small town and people don't really understand it, but I've had to learn
Yeah.
personally quite a lot of hard lessons about who are my real friends, and bodybuilding's definitely helped me with that, for sure.
Yeah.
But it'd be good to see whether you've experienced anything yourself.
Yeah, so I've only really kept my one friend that I said who came to all my shows and stuff from uni. Everyone else from uni knew I always liked the gym, but that was about it, really. So I had a group of about 6 of us, and yeah, and obviously only that one girl is still like my closest friend. Like, the others are not so much. And I think it was because they always supported me, but I just didn't feel like they felt that it was the same, because they couldn't just go out with me whenever we wanted. And even though I'd still go, I think they didn't really like it when I used to get my Tupperware out and stuff like that, because I feel like they felt like I wasn't getting as involved. But
Yeah.
I felt like I was. I felt like, well, why do I have to eat this particular thing just to be involved? Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't really understand that. So unfortunately, like, they've drifted off a bit, and I'm still kind of, we'll chat to them every now and then, but we're not as close as we used to be. And I have had people saying, even though my friends support me, they're like, "Oh, Liz, like, come on, why don't you just drink tonight? And come on, you only live once." Like, and it's like, yeah, I do only live once, and I really want to do this competition. Like, and you know what? No one told me to compete. No one forced me to do this. I love doing it, and I get so much enjoyment out of it, and I've made way more friends than I've lost out of it as well. So like, it's been okay. I haven't had any horrific experiences. I've obviously had the times where I've drifted apart from people, but it's been like quite like a natural kind of like drifting apart, rather than like, oh, we don't want to be friends with you because you do this.
Yeah.
And then obviously I've had the people being like, come on, like, why don't you just drink? And it's like, but once you just say to them, like, no, look, like, I actually really want to do this. Like, can you just support me? But because they know that I'm still fun and everything, even if I don't drink, they don't really care. So I've had a pretty okay ride with it in terms of that sense. But obviously everyone's going to experience some form of like persuasion, and yeah, I have lost friends from it, but yeah, like I said, I've gained way more than I've lost, so I'm cool with that.
Yeah, and it's definitely quality over quantity.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I've learnt that so much ever since like leaving. Well, obviously I'm in my 5th year, but like, it's not really uni as such anymore. So ever since I left like my history degree, um, I just keep my close friends close, and then that's about it really. But like, yeah, I'm really happy with that though.
Got I've got one more question for you
Yeah.
before we probably wrap up. So, what are your plans, generally speaking, for this year, for 2018? Where do you see yourself heading ideally?
Yeah, so obviously, like I said, I'm in off season now, really enjoying it. Obviously, shrink my quads, grow my body, get that symmetry going. That's kind of my goals at the moment for my off season. So next time I will compete will be next year, so that will be next season. The UK BFF is changing a little bit. The amateur, I don't know if you've heard about this, but the from what I've gathered, it's all a bit complicated, and I'm not really sure exactly what's happening at the moment. But the amateur division is now, like the IFBB amateur division is now separate from the IFBB pro division.
Mm-hmm.
So, from what I can gather, instead of if you compete in the UK BFF, you can't become an IFBB pro, but you can become an IFBB elite athlete. But it's still an amateur division. Whereas it used to be you could become an IFBB pro within the UK BFF. Like you work up, and obviously that's when you get to Olympia and everything, right? So the IFBB pro division is now putting on shows for the amateurs to basically, if you win, you can become a pro. So it's all changing a little bit. I'm not really sure, I love the UK BFF and I want to stay, but I'm just not sure how the shows are going to work. So I'm not sure how the shows are going to work. So I'm not really sure like what show I'm going to be aiming for exactly, but I just know that I'm probably going to want to start prepping Easter time probably. I keep sneezing. Sorry, I've got a cold.
Do you know what? I'm trying to hold back my sneeze, so we're in together. It's all good.
It's okay.
All right.
Yeah, no. So I think not really sure exactly what show I'm going for, but I know I want to start prepping around Easter time, because then that will be when my my LPC kind of like draws to an end as well. So I want to kind of arrange it around my studying, because I don't want to have the same situation as this year. So yeah, that's my plans going forward, and obviously I want to qualify for international shows, and I would absolutely love to be a pro one day. So I really want to start working, like taking it seriously, working towards that, getting a lot of stage time behind my belt, and getting noticed and stuff in the competing industry.
Yeah.
I have a long way to go, so obviously that will not happen like next year, but as long as I can bring an extremely improved package next season and qualify for some decent shows, I'll be more than chuffed. So in terms of competing, that's my plans for next year.
Amazing. So in terms of your law degree and the his and hers training, how do you see that kind of progressing next year?
So his and hers training, obviously, like that's still going strong. James and I are going to still keep on doing that. Like I said, we absolutely love doing that. So yeah, that's just going to keep on rolling, really. So yeah, that's obviously going to stay the same and all of that stuff. And then in terms of uni, I'll finish around June time, I think. And then I'll have to do the real adult life, which I'm not mature enough for yet. And yeah, so I think I'm not sure if I'm going to completely commit to the whole law and getting into a firm just yet, because obviously I'm 22 now, but I'll be 23 by the time I finish my LPC, and I'm still quite young. And also once you're in with a firm, that's it. Like you're off. You don't really want to leave, because you'd be a bit silly too. So I think what I'm going to do is see where I'm at in terms of like my competing and my fitness and how that's going. And yeah, I dedicate a bit of time to that. Potentially get a job in a different kind of area that's still like a really good job, still like decent money, so I can like save and like all that mature stuff, like getting on the property market and all that scary stuff. But just maybe not in law just yet. I want to I'll commit to the law thing when I'm like 27, like, and I've got a bit more experience behind my belt.
Yeah.
But I think like now I want a really good job, but just not with a firm just yet. I think my chances are better getting into like a really good firm when I'm a bit older, because obviously I've gone straight from sixth form to uni to my masters, and I've always had a part-time job since I was 14, but I've never worked full-time yet. So, I think I better ease myself gently into this.
Definitely. It's definitely an adjustment, I give you that. So
100%.
wrong, I'm going to throw a bit of a question at you, for maybe a tough one. If, say, you got to the next year and your Instagram, his and hers training was giving you enough money so that you could actually have a full-time job, but you had the opportunity to do the law degree, which way do you think you'd side?
What, so you're talking decide between like fitness and his and hers and a job?
Yeah, so say
Like a
you, so say you
I
got
know
to,
I'm not doing say real job, but you know what I mean.
yeah, because some people kind of they start online coaching kind of businesses and it starts to be like a part-time job. But what if you got to the situation that
Yeah.
both were taking up exactly the same amount of time, and you really were time kind of constrained and you had to maybe pull one back? Which one do you think you'd side with?
Oh God, oh God.
It's the only hard question I've given you.
I know. Well, to be honest, with law, like I've got my qualifications, like no one can ever take that away from me.
Yeah.
I am dead certain that that's what I want to do as my career, right?
Mm-hmm.
But obviously there is nothing, I don't want to start my career just yet. I want to start my career in law at like I just said, at like 27. So I am 100% certain that that is what I want my career to be in, and that's that. But I don't have to start that now. So if it comes to next year, and the fitness thing's going really well, his and hers training is keeping up how it is, and I have the opportunity to just kind of do that for a few years, and then I definitely would, because my mindset at the moment is that because I don't want to commit to the law thing straight after uni, I'm always going to have these like 3 or 4 years to find my feet, be an adult but not like sleep at the office kind of adult.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I would definitely keep that up, and like see how that would go, because also with this whole computing thing, even though obviously you can do it at any age, but I feel like for me, like my opportunity is now when I'm like younger.
Yeah.
So it's not something, the law thing I can hold off, because like I said, I've got my qualifications, that's that. The law thing I can hold off, but whereas the fitness thing, like for me, I don't think I can really hold off. Like it's happening now, and yeah. So if I got the opportunity, I'd definitely take that 100%. I enjoy it so much. So
it's good that you're in that position as well. To have that kind of freedom, and as long as you've got that law degree behind you, then yeah,
it's good. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it sounds great.
Yeah.
Right, I think we've covered everything. Thank you so much. It's been so fascinating to hear about your backstory as well.
Oh no, I absolutely love being on here. I love a good chat.
Got a bit of chin wag, but awesome. So I'll let you kind of finish up the podcast, and if people want to hear more about your online coaching, or they want to just connect with you or follow you, how can they do that?
So my Instagram is Alicia Gardner, so it's literally just my name, and my email and everything is on there if you want to know more about coaching, or you can direct message me or anything. So yeah, everything's like through my Instagram basically. So yeah, it's just Alicia Gardner.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And thank you so much, guys, for watching or for listening. If you want to hear more, then please do go and hit that subscribe button and leave a review, because that will help this new little baby of mine grow. And I hope we can just grow a massive community. And yeah, thank you so much, Alicia. And
That's
see
all
you
right.
guys in the next podcast.